Documentaries were considered amazing entertainment by many. They inspired people and worked hard on extensive research in revealing or displaying topics that were unknown to the public. They impacted people into believing what was spoken. They created careers for many and made frontiers by giving people information in a format that they could easily understand. But what is a documentary? Documentaries are non-fiction films that showcase real events in history. They often talk about the natural world, but some talk about political events or other events in history. They can be used to change people's beliefs, but we'll get to that later. So who created the documentary? To answer that, we'll have to know the first video camera, since documentaries were the first uses of video cameras. I'm not talking about the first supraxioscope, because that had to be spun and it was traced from real images. I'm talking about the first actual video. Many people believe the Lumiere brothers were the first ones to invent the video camera, but the Lumiere brothers were actually half a decade behind. Introducing Louis Le Prince, inventor of the first cinematograph. Louis was a highly successful inventor who made a number of inventions and patents. Louis's father's friend, Louis Daguerre, inventor of the daguerreotype process of photography, taught Louis Le Prince photography. Louis studied painting in Paris and chemistry in Germany. These were essential, along with his photography experience, to creating the first motion picture. But how did he do it? Louis first made a 16-lens camera. According to fstoppers.com, it was kind of an Occam's razor approach. He rotated between the lenses at slightly different timings and took a picture, so that the familiar flipbook effect could be achieved. But this provided a problem. With the film moving in such a high exposure, the film would be blurry and jittery. He made 3 films with the single-lens camera and 1 film with the 16-lens camera. Roundhay Garden and Man Walking Around the Corner are considered to be the first motion pictures. What were the stages of documentaries? Documentaries were first created as a way to show events. So the first documentary was a 1-hour video depicting a fight between James J. Corbett and Bob Fitzsimmons. This was filmed because many people wanted to see fights. Only fragments of the film still survive. Other films similar to this are Bob Boleslaw's Matsuki's Operations, which helped Boleslaw look at what flaws he was making while performing surgery. He combined 15 of these into 3 compilations, 2 of which still remain. But documentaries as we know today only truly started as travel documentaries or travelogues, documentaries about traveling to new places. I can't find a specific example of the first travelogue, but they are still used today. Examples of more recent travel documentaries are Somebody Feed Phil, 2018, Dark Tourist, 2018, or The Kindness Diaries, 2017. Also, biographical documentaries came up then too. An early biographical documentary is Eminescu, Veronica Crianga, about the relationship between the writers Mihai Eminescu, Veronica Milkel, and Ion Crianga, who were all dead at the time of production. Next, documentaries go into romanticism. An example of this is Nanook of the North, a heavily staged documentary about love in the actual Arctic. Robert J. Flaherty, the creator of the documentary, had to build an igloo because of limitations to filming technology. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia.ca, the sensitivity of its director and his selection and arrangement of the material made the film different from and far superior to the travelogues of its day. Documentaries made many jobs, such as producer, creates the idea and does many jobs such as editing. Researcher researches all the information needed for the documentary. Director of photography records images and videos, and more. Propaganda used a documentary format back in the 30s. What was this documentary, and how did it impact people? Leni Riefenstahl's film Triumph of the Will was a propaganda film to inflict people into believing that Germany was returning as a great power, with Hitler as its leader. Within 2 months, the film had earned 815,000 Reichsmark, around 328,000 USD today. This film was one of the top 3 most profitable films at the Berlin Ufa Palace Theater. The Economist said it sealed her, Leni Riefenstahl, the creator of the movie's reputation as the greatest female filmmaker of the 20th century. So this was a very influential film. This was the start of many propaganda films from 1935 to even after Hitler's death, with the Reach Center Hamburg radio station saying that he had died as a hero fighting against Bolshevism, a Marxist-Leninist form of communism. The Independent wrote in 2003, "Triumph of the will seduced many wise men and women, persuaded them to admire rather than to despise, and undoubtedly won the Nazis friends and allies all over the world." But now let's focus on some of the more good impacts of documentaries. In 2012, The Invisible War premiered at the 2012 Sundance Film Festival. The Invisible War is about the epidemic of rape in the U.S. military. It says that 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted during military service. This has sparked more than 20 pieces of legislation, some of which are still pending, and has now been shown to nearly 1 million U.S. Armed Services personnel and has been used as a training tool for military members. In conclusion, documentaries created many careers and opportunities. They opened frontiers by displaying unknown or unheard of information in a way that was easy to understand. Documentaries completely changed many people's lives, for good and for bad. Documentaries impacted the world forever.